Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachael. Today is Monday, the 3rd of October. My name is Rachael Parker. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Edmonton in Alberta, Canada, and I am responsible for the churches in the Anglican churches, St. Thomas and Wainwright, St. Mary's in Edgerton, and soon St. Saviour's in Vermilion. Welcome. For those of you who have been following me, you'll know that I've been away for the last week and a half. I was supposed to be on holidays in Ontario at my sister-in-law's wedding, but a thing happened. Some of you are aware of it, and I ask your prayers for my family. On the Wednesday, the last time I posted, that evening, my husband and I were in Edmonton at a hotel because we had a flight early in the morning at the airport to head to Ontario. And Rob wasn't feeling well. He had been to the doctor earlier, and they suggested strongly that when he gets back from holidays, that he should come in and get to the hospital for some tests. But he wasn't feeling well, and we made the decision to head back to our home of Wainwright. On the way home, I decided when I was he was really tired, so I took over the driving, and I decided we were going straight to the hospital. We got to emergency and found out that the tests that had been done and tests that they continue to do were showing that he was in congestive heart failure. So they moved him to Edmonton to an incredible hospital, Misericordia, to the coronary care unit, and he was taken care of for a week by the most amazing nursing staff. Shout out to Jessica and to Joy, the pharmacist, and Dan, the educator, and to Morgan and Trudy and Tien and all of these incredible people who were just from the person who emptied the garbage cans and swept the floors to the paramedics who transported him to the Royal Alexandra for his angiogram and back and everything in between. They were absolutely phenomenal. We determined that he did not have a heart attack, and the angiogram showed that he was clear. He had no blockages, so that wasn't the problem. He has a couple of small spots of plaque that they can deal with cholesterol meds, and that's easy. We all have that probably. But now they've given him a whole great cocktail of medication, and the hope is that the meds will help him to regain some heart function. He's looking at right now working with 15 to 20% heart function with no known cause. Hopefully they will do some tests, a cardiac MRI, and they'll do another EKG in 3 to 6 months to determine if the medication is working. But it is terrifying. And through that week, I made the decision that I was going to look for unexpected graces. You see, it was a miracle. I really believe it was a miracle that we did not get on that plane. That Rob, who is so stubborn, he won't even take a Tylenol if he has a raging headache, would say to me, I need to go home. I can't go to Ontario for his sister's wedding. He was to walk her down the aisle. Both of their parents died within the last couple of years, and it's just the two of them. And this meant the world to him to be able to go and do that. And he said to me, we were in the bed, ready to sleep and get up first thing in the morning for the plane. And he said to me, sweetheart, I need to go home. That was a miracle. God intervened because the doctor in the emergency room in Wainwright told us that if he had gotten on the plane, he would not have survived the trip. Miracle number 1. I saw many miracles over the last week and a half. I saw people do incredible work. I saw people encourage him and run to help him and do all kinds of things. I saw a doctor in Wainwright with 3 different phones on the go trying to find a cardiac bed somewhere in the province and finally found one at the Misericordia. Amazing ambulance attendants who drove him back to Edmonton. People, the doctors and nurses who welcomed me and allowed me to hang out for 12 hours a day in his hospital room and didn't give us any grief. People who were just absolutely incredible. And I started counting and putting on my Facebook unexpected graces. Those moments that I paid attention and realized this is where God is. This is where something beautiful is happening in this moment, even though my world is falling apart. Some people from YouTube, my YouTube family, were there to encourage me and to lift me up and remind me that I do not pray alone. Members of my congregations, all three of them, encouraging me to be strong and being there for Rob and praying for him. New friends, people, Trisha and Eduardo, people that I didn't even really know existed. I met Eduardo a year ago when he came to do work for Rob at the base. And this year he came back and is doing some incredible more work and has become such an incredibly good friend. And his beautiful wife, Trisha, who has been my rock through all of this. The technology that I don't like technology. I use YouTube, but I'm not really strong on it. But Messenger became a place, and text messaging became a place where I could go and update people all at once and not feel overwhelmed in the need to reach out to, 14 or 15 individual people and tell them exactly the same thing. People have been so encouraging. People have been such a blessing to me and to Rob in the last week and a half, helping us to recognize the gifts of going where God calls us to go and not going where God calls us not to go. I don't think that God gave my husband this heart condition, but I do know that God is giving us the strength to deal with it. We have no idea what's going to happen in the future, what will happen with his career. We have an idea, but I'm praying for a miracle there too. I am still praying for a miracle of a whole heart, that his heart will somehow heal as quickly as this has happened, because 6 months ago he was healthy as a horse. We thought he had allergies, so we didn't do anything about it. But the last 2.5, 3 weeks have gotten bad, and everything just sort of happened all at once. We now know that this has been coming for a little bit of time, but we don't know how. So please, if you're a praying person, please pray for both for healing, I pray for a miraculous, complete healing of his heart, but also to understand the cause, what happened, so that if it's something that's preventative, other people won't have it happen either. But the biggest take home for me has been the absolute and essential need to look for and be open to unexpected graces. I know I can look up the definition of grace, and I'm probably using it wrong, but I don't mind having my own definition. Rob would tell you that I make up words all the time. But I have my own definition of grace has been those moments when unexpectedly I have looked up and seen something beautiful. Last evening, Rob was discharged from the hospital on Friday, and we chose to stay in Edmonton for a couple of days, mostly just in case something happened. We'd be close to the hospital. I could take him back. I just was nervous about bringing him home. But we went to this place called Panda Express, and I'm not a big Chinese fan. I don't like Chinese food. But we sort of looked around for some place to go that wouldn't be exhausting. Rob has trouble walking and keeping his breath. So to go someplace loud or someplace where there'd be a lot of steps was out of the question. And we drove around and around. We finally came across a place in Sherwood Park called Panda Express. And we went in there we'd been by it 3 or 4 times and we just hadn't gone. So we finally decided after 45 minutes of looking around, okay, we're just going to pop in there. We got in there, and this gentleman named Winston came in after us. He was drunk as a skunk, and Winston is an Indigenous gentleman. And he came in and he was asking for some help, and Rob gave him some money, and he appreciated that. And I just felt the need to, we were going to eat there at the restaurant anyway. I asked Winston if he'd like some food, and he was hesitant, but finally he said, yeah, he would have some food. And so we got him some food and invited him to sit at our table. And we sat down and he talked to me about Creator, and we talked about Indigenous foods like bannock. And Rob got up to get him some soy sauce and some pepper and some lemon. And I had said something to him about how stressed I was. And he said a prayer for me. He said a prayer to Creator for me. And then Rob came back and he said he wanted to sing me a song. And I thought he was going to sing because we've been talking about me. He'd made me cry. His prayer was so beautiful. And he told me I shouldn't cry at night, and explained that there's something in his tradition that it's not healthy. It's not safe to cry at night. The tears do something. He didn't really get much into it. It was kind of hard to understand, but he told me he wanted to sing to me, and I thought, oh, beautiful, an Indigenous song. He sang me a Roy Orbison song, but he made me laugh. And as we were leaving, I said, God bless him to him. I said, God bless you, Winston. May Creator bless you. And he took my hand and he told me that so few people say that to him. And then he blessed me back. An unexpected grace. An unexpected grace. That I needed that. I needed the human touch. And he gave me a hug. And I needed that moment. And I think Winston needed us too. But that was only one of several, many times. I mean, the nursing staff at Misericordia, the knowledge that even though he'd been at the Royal Alex for 12 hours waiting for transport back to Misericordia, he was finally able to come back at 5:30 in the morning. They'd taken him over. His test was done at 4:30 in the afternoon the day before and left him waiting until they had transport. Our province of Alberta has some work to do with our healthcare system. Our provincial government has cut, and that's not an unexpected grace. That's an expected problem, and we need to work on that. But that's something for another day. But an unexpected grace was to get to the hospital at 9 o'clock to see Rob. I hadn't seen him since 2:30 the afternoon before, and to find out that his door was closed, his lights were off, his breakfast was sitting 2 hours old on the nurse's desk, as were his meds, and the nurses were letting him sleep because he hadn't slept at all the night before. They were busy, and it takes a lot out of their schedule to be able to do that, to hold his weighing in. He had so much fluid around his heart. They had him on a Lasix, and they were measuring his output, so to speak, so that they could know how he was doing. So every morning before he'd eat, they would weigh him. They were weighting all of those parts of their schedule, those things, the tasks that they had to do. They were allowing him the gift of the grace of being able to sleep as long as he could before they began their day with him. And I know that messed up their whole schedules, but they were so gracious about it. There were so many things and so many ways that we saw unexpected gifts of grace throughout this past week and a half. And I think I came up with 22 that I put on Facebook. And one of my friends here on YouTube, Contrafacts, recognized that Beau of the Fifth Column came across in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian. Some things were slowed up that allowed another thing to happen. And Contrafacts he called it an unexpected grace for Beau. And Contrafacts himself participated in unexpected grace a couple of times himself. I encourage you all to look for unexpected graces. And I think what I'm going to do from now on, because I think it's really important that I do the same, is that Mondays on Church at Home with Rachael are going to be unexpected graces. I'll share my own, but I would love to share yours. So if you could email me your unexpected graces with a little story that goes behind them, or put them in the comments, then I can share them with your permission on Mondays when we'll open up the week and the opportunities of the week with unexpected graces that maybe as we continue to see the goodness that life shares with us, even in the depths of despair and the difficult times, that we can help others to recognize the goodness that is in their life as well. So send me your unexpected graces, and let's make Mondays a graceful way to start the week. God bless you. Thank you for supporting me and being with me. And I do ask, if you're a praying person, please pray for complete and utter healing of my husband Rob's heart and all of the things in his life that need that kind of divine intervention as we move forward. Thank you for being here for me, and thank you for allowing me to be here for you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachael.